Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Voltron, Legendary Defender, which we'll be getting into right now. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Delaney Stovall.
Hey, y'all.
Justin Cummings.
Hello, comrades.
And Alex Bonilla.
Hello.
For the final time, we'll be discussing a Voltron Legendary Defender today on the
That sounds
Animated
fake.
Podcast.
I don't think that's real.
Oh, you don't believe that it's our last Voltron podcast? Okay.
No, I don't at all.
Okay, well, maybe it's we could get into things later, but it's the last season, and we'll be discussing season 8 in its entirety here. Once again, we had our reactions podcast a few days ago. You can check that out at overlyanimated.com. Search for Overly Animated Voltron, find our iTunes feed there, or our YouTube is youtube.com/overlyanimated. We've been talking about Voltron since episode 1. We have covered every single episode of the show. Delaney and I in the first season went through with like 12 different podcasts, and then the show has concluded, and our potentially final podcast here. Over 40 podcasts on Voltron. This is a sad occasion, but we are happy to discuss all of this final season and get into everything and get some 3 new perspectives here on this last season of Voltron. So make sure you have seen the entirety of season 8 of Voltron and every previous episode. Spoilers for the ending, the way the series ends. Make sure you've checked out. And we're going to be getting into this. So let's just start with overall season reactions. What did you think about the last season? Also, if you want to get into anything in particular that stood out to you, let's start with Delaney, who I believe just finished the season.
They killed Allura. What the heck? What the heck? So
Allura killed Allura.
Allura killed Allura. That's true. But I had been not like spoiled, but I had seen somebody tweet women of color on something on Voltron, and I was like, oh great, they killed Allura. I was like, awesome. And then of course we get to the end, and I was like, I knew this was coming, but darn it, I didn't want it to be real. So I do think overall I really liked this season. Not as much filler, which is kind of what Voltron's known for, honestly, is they're kind of like fun, offbeat episodes. We really only had, I guess we had 2. We had the carnival episode, which was much more enjoyable than the horrible camera episode that was just physically painful to watch. I did actually like the camera episode. My girlfriend was very displeased the whole time. I did find it tiring around the end of it. At first I was like, I like this, and then it was like, we're just gonna film a battle. I'm like, that's stupid, don't do that. And I'm sorry if you can hear the cat eating Velcro while I'm talking, because that's what she's doing. But overall, I really enjoyed the season, though I do think I didn't really enjoy the farewell tour we were doing, which was, we're gonna, in some episodes worked well. We brought back characters that we knew, I say we knew. We sort of knew some of them. And then I was like, okay, I know vaguely that you were in an episode one time, but I don't actually know who you are. But the warden was cool. There were a couple others. But then it was also they killed you. I kind of know you were in an episode, and I should feel bad, but I don't, because there's so many characters in Voltron that I have no idea who you are. And that was in season 2, so I don't know. Yeah. And there is something my girlfriend pointed out, which was, I did enjoy, we have moments where they're the power of friendship, we're all in this together, stay strong, that's fine. But it was a little exhausting how many escape situations we had to escape this season that were the lions showed up, thank God, which is the entire show, to be fair. But it became very apparent, particularly in this season. But overall, I did really enjoy it. Some of the fight scenes were incredible. And I think we went somewhere, I don't know if the show's ever gone this far with bending realities and dealing with, honestly, nothingness, especially in this format on Netflix, and just in children's animation. To do this was astounding, and I think they did it very well. And we're obviously going to talk more about Allura, and I have a lot of mixed and multiple commentaries on it, but ultimately I am satisfied, I think, with the ending. But I really did enjoy the season. I think we have some incredible character moments.
Okay. Wow, cool stuff. Yes, Delaney, overall satisfied with the ending. Justin, what did you think of season 8?
I thought season 8 was possibly the best season of the show. I know that's not the consensus, but I was really hype on it. I thought that it was really, really good. There was not a single episode I disliked. There were moments I disliked. Lance and All Four, for instance. We'll get to that, I'm sure. But honestly, I thought it was a really, really strong season. I thought the documentary episode was a high point.
Was it a documentary?
I seem to be like the...
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it kind of
really what it was?
Yep.
They kept saying documentary, but was it?
They're documenting the ship. Like, what's the...
I seem to be the only person who's like, yeah, this was like a really great episode.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Justin. I give you my support.
It's Day 47. That's the name of it. I thought it was great just because we really got to see the Atlas crew a little more, and I thought Hunk's mini arc of that episode was great because it set up like the finale very nicely for Hunk. I really like what they did with Hunk this season. Some people were like, oh, it's too stereotypical because Hunk and food, and I'm like, but this is a meaningful way to portray it. I thought it was cool. Delaney, I know you just finished. Did you get to see the post-credit scene?
Scene is a generous word.
Did you see the post-credit snip?
There's an image at the end of the lions flying towards a constellation that looks like Allura. Basically, is the last shot. Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't get to see that.
Flying's a strong word. They're floating.
It's a still. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to. We didn't see that.
Still, it's a parallaxed image. I don't know what exactly it is, but the point is, so it's kind. Some people are like, Allura might still be alive, and I'm like, Allura's like in the fabric of reality now.
So that's why there's a constellation.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that because I know
I will go see it.
You just had to finish it.
Yeah.
It's literally 2 seconds. Like you could see a picture and be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so I thought this was a really, really great season. I love the carnival episode, especially. I'm looking back through the episodes just to remember which ones were really strong. I thought it was really. I binged it out, so I don't remember names.
Yeah, you could describe them.
I thought Nerva is one of the best villains we've seen. Nerva reminded me a lot of Kuvira from. Kuvira's the name, right? From
from Korra.
Korra. Yeah. Kuvira.
Yeah, reminded me a lot of Kuvira in that. Female villain, final season, been leading up to, was hinted at she'd be the villain beforehand. Really interesting plot, not traditional villain motivations per se, not traditional goals per se. I thought it was a really cool ending. I really liked the Nerva. I really liked her plot. I really liked what they did with the Galra. I really liked how we ended with the Alteans as the villains and the Galra as the ally. I think that was a really interesting direction to take the show. And so... yeah, I really like the season.
Okay. 2 very high marks for season 8. What say you, Alex?
I am not going to go as strong as Justin in terms of calling this the best season of the show. Like, I'm of the mind that this show kind of peaked in the middle, like seasons 4 and 5-ish. Like, whenever Lodor was a much stronger villain, I think that's where it hit its high. But at the same time, I still think on the whole, the season was enjoyable. I'm with Justin that I enjoyed the documentary episode and the carnival episode, Clear Day. But I think it's because of the fact that at this point of the show, like, it's an action show, like there's no getting around that, and it's a main part of it. But like by this point, all the action sequences just blend together at this point. Like there's only so many robot fights I can handle. I was a little disappointed that the Onerva and a giant mech thing, like in theory, like that should have excited me. Like, hey, Onerva's got a cool mech thing. But then I'm like, wait, but what? But this looks very close to Lotor's anti-Voltron, and the fight
I was
is
exhausted the entire time.
And the fight is very similar to Lotor's robot versus Voltron that we just saw like 2 seasons ago. So it's like the action stuff is serviceable, but because of the fact that there's so much action, I think that's why I gravitate to these like more experimental episodes, and I wish that Voltron had tried a bit more in that direction. But I get why they have to stick to the formula just based on like what the show is. So, but that makes these like the more far out episodes a little more interesting when they do pop up. As for characters, I agree that Nerva They did great with making her a strong, like a more fleshed out villain. It's great. I'm a sucker for villain flashback episodes. So like we see Onerva like becoming corrupted, and we see Lodor struggling with like, wait, why is my mom like? Well, I guess he doesn't even know that it's his mom, and like that's what spurs him to harbor so much resentment and stuff. So seeing all of that is great, and then it's also Allura getting focused for an entire season is good, even if the ending is a little yeah, it's a little tough. But I enjoyed that we had a season of her as the focus. I'm also a little disappointed that came at the expense of other characters. I guess we'll talk a little bit about like how our quote unquote main cast is reflected in this. So, but I think that Allura and Onerva come out as like the main stars of this season. They got their focus and they did well with the attention we gave them. And yeah, and then like the final 5 minutes, like the ending montage, like it's like the easiest way to end a series with the good feelings, and it works here too. So I think in the end, I'm just like, okay, then Voltron, okay, show. I'm in the end, I'm happy that I watched it, even if maybe this season was bumpy, but it got there. So in the end, I'm fine.
Nice, good stuff. It's cool to see. As a whole, you three more positive on this season. I think we're a little lower on the previous podcast. Briefly, I definitely thought season 3 to 6 are the peak here, and then I think this is better than 7, but not quite up to where we were in the middle of the show. And we can get into some potential reasons why, see if you guys disagree. I was gonna dive immediately into the Shiro stuff at the end, but it seems like we are more top of mind for Allura dying. So let's get into that first. We can unpack that a little bit more, because that was a big maybe the biggest things in terms of stakes that has happened in this series. Allura sacrifices herself to save all the realities and
everything,
the entire universe and all other universes and parallel universes, and maybe I guess that's the highest.
Us.
Yeah, I guess us if we exist in the
Allura saved us, my Lord and Savior, Allura.
Are we possible to exist? Yes. Ergo, in any multiverse, we are possible. Ergo, she saved us.
Okay, so she's our Lord and Savior, Allura. Yes, and the fandom has largely reacted negatively to this.
Very mad. They're very mad.
Delaney has alluded to. Yeah, Delaney, why don't you unpack your thoughts on this a little bit more? You're coming on a little bit. You're a little bit raw from just seeing this. How did you react? Were you upset personally at seeing her die, and how do you react in terms of a broader media scope with this?
So I'm crying while this is going on. And of course, my girlfriend, may have been drinking. And by that, I mean my girlfriend was drinking. And she has been crying off and on the entire time we're binging. And I have not cried until I'm like, no, we're doing this whole, Allura has to go down the line and hug and say something really sweet and sentimental to each person. And I'm like, nope, I can't do this. Nope. Crying. Then she dies. I'm crying some more. And then we have this stupid dinner and I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, this is the worst. So, okay. Personally, I'm devastated. We talk about our main cast, and the show begins and ends with Allura, which is, why they named the end of the last episode, whatever stupid thing, the end and the beginning is the end, whatever the heck
end
it is.
Is the beginning.
Whatever it is, which is identical to whatever Korra episode name.
Yeah, is it better or worse than the Korra Book 1 finale Endgame? Better or worse? Basically the same.
That's a whole other podcast. Yes, basically the same. But, God, we could do a whole podcast on stupid episode names. But, so I was personally devastated. But I did know it was coming. And, which is kind of what's sad about it, honestly, in the media scope, which I'm about to get there. But, so Allura, beginning to end, is the main character of this series. She, this is why the Paladins are together. This is why Voltron is. When she became a Paladin of Voltron, it was very deeply satisfying to me and for what it means for all media. And it was awesome. And her as the Blue Line has been awesome this entire time. And like we were saying about her getting a focus this season is what she has deserved the entire series. And they did a great job of her focus for this season. And the thing is, what's so upsetting about this is that it is a satisfying ending. Narratively, it's great. We have its closure. You know, Allura lost her planet. She lost everything. But then at the end, we get Altea back, but there's no Allura. So even though we have this ultimate triumph, what Allura would have wanted, she's not there. I don't know if anyone's ever read Allegiant from the Divergent series. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's the same stupid nonsense. And again, this is what happens in media. You have like the main female character. Spoilers, if you haven't read Divergent, Triss dies in the end. At the very end of the book, she just dies in Allegiant. And you're like, why did I read these 3 books about her? That's kind of what we get to here. We have this incredible series. I do agree, though, and I believe this series did peak in season 6, or somewhere in the middle there. And they kill her, and she does. She dies in a blaze of glory. It's beautiful. We have actual closure. It's not like where Keith would have Keith has tried to sacrifice himself like every episode, like for
that's true
3 years. So, but this isn't like moment of battle. She gets to say her goodbyes, and that it's kind of very similar to Harry Potter, where Harry gets to have his moment with the Resurrection Stone before makes the decision to sacrifice himself. So in that, it's satisfying emotionally. It's satisfying like narratively. We are closing Allura's chapter, but so again, narratively, it's great. This is great storytelling. It feels great. You're sad. It's cathartic. All this stuff. It's awesome, right? Media-wise, this is horrible, and they do this all the time. So we have a woman of color. She is one of, if not arguably, the main character of the series. We, push her to the back for half the show. We bring her in, and it's awesome. We make her a paladin. We build her up. She becomes an incredible role model on Netflix in this show. She's great. She's a great leader. And we get to see, deeply personal things with Allura, her relationship with Lance, her relationship with all the paladins and stuff with her family. We get to see this, we finally get something that Dylan loves, which is always like making, your characters dark. We get to dabble in dark Allura. we get to do everything with Allura. It's amazing. And then we kill her at the end. And to not only fridge a female character, and the thing is, this is fridging ultimately because like the last 5 minutes almost makes it worse. So we kill her, and then we're like, we're going to celebrate. And it's like, okay, I get it. This is supposed to be really nice and cathartic that we're remembering Allura, but it's just, we do this all the time. It happened in Divergent. It happens, you have a main female character and you kill her. It doesn't matter. Maybe, it would have been the same. Honestly, it would have been just as bad if they'd killed Pidge, which I wouldn't be talking right now if they killed Pidge, to be fair.
You wouldn't be on this podcast.
No, there wouldn't be a podcast if they killed Pidge. But it's just, not only we fridge a woman character, we fridge a woman of color, which, like, in Voltron, we don't have a lot of those. We have aliens, which is great, but it's not the same. And we have all of, like, I think 2 or 3 women of color in what we would say like the ensemble cast. I'm thinking Veronica and what's her name? Is it Razavi? And like we have a couple. And then now we also do have is his name Curtis? Is that his name?
Shiro's husband.
Boy,
yes.
yeah, we get him, and then we also have Kincaid. And that's kind of it.
Minerva count as a woman of color?
What? Yes, Minerva does count, which we also kill Minerva. We kill 2 of them at the same time. At the same time.
They joined forces.
Which that was great, and I do think that was great.
We killed a villain.
Yeah, we kill a villain. Whoa! We have literally killed every villain in this show, which, like, we could have another ethical conversation about that. But, so...
I think we didn't... Technically, the heroes didn't kill the villain this time, so that's a whole nother bucket.
That's true. That's different. But so narratively, great, cool. They did it. It made sense. It didn't feel like, oh, we're just going to kill it right now, which sometimes that does happen, and that's how it feels. But ultimately, for media, this is not satisfying, and it's really irritating. And I understand why the fandom is very mad about this, because you take, like the one character you have, and you're like, oh, into the furnace.
Yeah. Okay.
May I defend Allura's death?
Well, yeah, good stuff, Delaney. I think Delaney did a great job of summarizing both sides of that. So, Justin, how do you feel about this? You referenced the fandom outrage on our nominations podcast, but I don't know how you personally feel about it.
On that podcast, I tried to be very neutral of just basically saying, well, I think Voltron may not win Show of the Year. But so the thing is, there's two things for this. First off, for those of you who don't know, because Delaney and I are comic book nerds, and not everyone may know the term fridging. I don't know how popular it is outside comic book use.
I mean, it's pretty ubiquitous at this point.
Is it big now?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I've been writing a superhero thesis, so literally, I have read more articles on fridging.
If I'm like, let me just give the definition as I know it, and I'm not a comic book nerd, but basically, it's killing a female character to give motivation to a male character. That's the way I've usually heard fridging.
Yes,
traditionally, yes, that's how Gail Simone defined it. After it comes from a Green Lantern comic where Green Lantern came home. Girlfriend was stuffed in a fridge. I have to fight minor villain who really had no impact whatsoever. And so I'd argue this isn't fridging. This is one of those situations that to me closer resembles the end of Silver Surfer's recent run, where yes, the female character dies, but it's not to motivate a male character.
I will say this doesn't fit the textbook textbook of fridging, but I should have clarified in that it is in that vein of let's killing the female character to further the plot. She is the how do you say that stupid word, Deus Ex Machina, where you just kill her?
Yes,
I'm pretty sure I'm saying it wrong. I'm probably saying it the Dylan way, which is fine.
You got it right.
No,
Deus Ex Machina. That's the Greek.
So that's what I meant. It is not the textbook definition of fridging, which I do agree with.
But I think main protagonist going down in a blaze of glory in their final episode is a tradition that stems way, way back. So if we're going to have female main characters, it would make sense that they also end up dying in some plots. I understand that she wasn't quite in the main front force the entire time, so it does feel a little less earned.
Like to have an ensemble that is majorly.
Yeah, but if we want to call her the main character, then the main character dying, that's kind of a thing. But my biggest gripe is the fact that everyone's like, oh, the writers are racist, the writers are racist, the writers are racist. How dare they kill a woman of color? The fact that Allura is a woman of color was a conscious decision by the show to give Voltron more diversity. In the original 80s show, Allura's white as heck. She is super duper pale. And they even kind of reference this in the first episode of the season when Hunk's talking about the show, which is the 80s Voltron. He's like, yeah, Keith is Shiro's Corian's super serious, and Allura's a little like they say it without saying it. And so it's almost like had they not made the decision to make Allura a woman of color, people would have complained about the show not being diverse enough. They made the decision to make her a woman of color and gave her the sacrifice trope. It's almost like they're between a rock and a hard place. It's like, I don't like the idea of, if you're going to make this character, you cannot use X, Y, and Z plot types. These are not allowed because I don't like doing that, especially when the fact that Allura is a woman of color was a conscious decision to make the show more diverse.
Yeah, and then it's still a conscious choice.
I mean, it's still a conscious choice to kill her off, but it's like, especially like it takes me off to no end when I see online the writers are racist.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look. The Voltron fandom's the Voltron fandom. We can talk about it on our level.
Well, that's different. Then we do need to refer to this in the context of greater media. This is not the best thing.
Oh no,
and that's the point.
Agree.
Yeah,
I definitely agree. It's not the greatest thing, but I also don't think it means that the writers of the show are evil.
Well, that's not even the question. That's not the question we're even.
But that's what I've been hearing. That's what people have been saying.
Yeah, I don't really feel the need to talk on the level.
I'm not arguing with the fandom or talking about the fandom. Yeah. I'm just talking. I literally just saw that tweet and knew that they had killed Allura.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they could have meant Minerva.
But I knew. That's what's wrong. Yeah. That's what's wrong. Is that I read a very vague tweet about Voltron and knew what had happened.
Spoiling bad. Alex, do you have a strong take on this?
Not particularly. I mean, I can't get into as deep of like a larger context on this, but just in the show, I'll say that it did feel a little weird at first, given that Allura does not start the show as a big main cast member. Like, we start with the 5 paladins, right? And then Allura gets added in gradually. Like, she begins as supporting, then becomes main. So for her to be the one killed off, like it felt inevitable at some point in the middle of watching, just because it's like, well, are they actually going to kill one of the real main characters?
Like if they were going to kill somebody, you're like, they're going to kill Laura.
Yeah. So like that part felt a little weird, and also at this point in the season, like we had gone so like this show like just keeps raising stakes. Okay, how do we make this even more universe starting? Okay, let's kill all realities. Like, but once you get to that far off, solving the problem is like so unintelligible that like the resolution doesn't make sense. Like it's literally the image of her and Minerva just walking into the light, and okay, that's solved. Like all the realities begin like branching off again. And it's like I guess artistically it's like, okay, that looks cool, but logically while I'm watching the show, it's like, well, wait, so what even happened? And like that kind of hurts my impression of the scene. If I don't know what they did to save the universe, then do I care? Like that's kind of my thing. And especially since like that image of walking into the light or walking into the darkness, I feel like this season used a lot of that.
It did.
So by this final season where that's your climactic moment, it's like, come on, man, like you're reusing a same
also,
motif.
They actually did a lot of characterization for Allura this season that made you kind of not want to care. Like I'm thinking of the scene where she's talking to Lance, and she's like, you know, I thought we all needed each other. We were a family in space, but I'm here now on Earth, and it's made me realize that you all have families and something to come back to, but I don't. So it's like, it doesn't matter if I die. No one will care.
Well, you kind of think in those scenes, like, because then Lance comes back. It's like, wait a minute,
right.
We're your family sort of thing. And like the show tries to do that.
Yeah.
But like, I guess it's just at a point where like the stakes are so high that like in these final episodes, characterization kind of goes out the window. Like you like, okay, we've done the character stuff in the first half of the season, so now the second half we can just focus on the action. But if that happens, then I'm like, my mind is going back to like the base of what I remember these characters being, and Allura is the alien. And so she's the one who gets to be cast off, I guess.
Yeah, it's. I think arguments on from a narrative lens and like Delaney presented, and then arguments from a general media lens, and both very valid here. And yeah, I think it's a good summary. I don't have a ton to add to it. You could even question from the show's narrative lens how much it added. But my main reaction to it from the show's lens was, at least this is something that felt big for the final season.
Right.
Yeah. This
made it feel like a finale, like a series finale.
Yeah. I do think from a show that has had potential issues before, with progressive issues, and attempting things, not getting it through, maybe not the best idea to go about this here. But also there is the other thing, which I want to get into. So, we
kill Laura, but he's gay.
Well, just for the finale, I just want to bring an alternative. Like, what I thought kind of was going to happen at the beginning is like, what if everyone died? Like, what if just the entire Voltron
I thought they were just going to be like, done. Like, reality's over.
Well, no, or like they save realities, but they all sacrifice themselves, and like the universe somehow remembers that. Like, I entered the season thinking that was a possibility, and then by the end I was like, oh no, it's just gonna be Allura. But like, I wonder, like, would that have improved things if like they just had the like were able to do like the whole shebang at once?
Honestly, it would have almost made more sense narratively, because especially considering this season and how many times they like, were like, we have to do this together. And as stupid as it was, we did have them all together again when they combined the ships. So stupid, but everyone got to be together, and we had like, those, what they'd like to do with the, they have everyone to split screen with everybody. And so that would have been, honestly, I think, actually, narratively, it would have actually been better, is that they all go out in one big blaze of glory, and we get rid of Voltron. Because now it's like, we still have Voltron, but we don't need Voltron. But instead, we would have destroyed everything all at once, and everyone would have been like, they could have done something cute. Like, they go through different realities, and no one really remembers, but there's hints there and there that people remember, but they don't know what they're remembering. Like, they could have done something cute.
I can imagine that, yeah.
I kind of want everyone to die, just because right now I hate people, and I want everyone sad. No one gets to live anymore.
Don't take your
okay,
don't take that.
Okay,
don't take that.
That is, to be fair, that is literally what Minerva wanted. Was I can't be happy, so I'm going to destroy everyone everywhere.
I really like the Nerva.
She was so mad.
Only
I don't know how good
Slav
it
gets to survive. Only Dylan gets to be happy.
Okay, I would be happy if only Slav survived. That's true.
Wow.
I think Slav would have been happy.
The whole final 10 minutes is just Slav. They didn't wear green
Yeah,
socks!
that'd have been a good ending. I would have liked that as the no. But let's talk about the actual ending. Then let's transition to the actual last shot.
The epilogue.
As opposed to the and yeah, we can talk about the other epilogues, but I want to specifically dive into this Shiro wedding and kiss shot that we end the show on. As we later learn, Curtis, this background character throughout the season.
He had a name the whole time?
No, but
Okay.
that's
Just
his name.
Just checking.
No, I mean, I don't think they say it.
I
Maybe
knew who he was, to be fair, because they had multiple moments of him yelling, at Shiro or
Okay,
at...
you did. He was in your mind. I didn't like.
No, as
recognize
soon
him
as
at
we
all.
saw it, I was like, he's the guy on the ship, right? And my girlfriend
Okay.
was like, yeah. And I was like,
Cool.
okay.
Yeah, he's on the Atlas with Shiro the whole season. Yeah. So they get there. We get the confirming, not necessarily confirming, but the culminating moment of Shiro being gay, which we presented last season to much chagrin from us in the way it was displayed. I guess it was kind of this heavily censored scene that reveals Shiro's gay without really ever getting into anything remotely explicit with him. And so here we actually get a kiss with him and Curtis, and they're married at the end, and we learn that he has a happy ending. And this is kind of the antithesis, I think, to Allura dying, which is there's the happy ending for the gay character here, for the minority character. And this is not only that, it is a monumental kind of moment here for as I got into this a little bit on the first podcast, but this is the first male kiss involving a main character in American or Western kids animation. So this is big deal on its own. It does involve a random character, which I think is a lot of the chagrin of fans of the show, where it's like this character that's not built up, that we do not know, we're not invested in their relationship. So a lot of people upset with how this was handled. Some people positive to see this kiss here. Delaney, what was your reaction to seeing it, and how are you feeling about it right now?
I'll be honest, I almost didn't care. I understand that it's monumental and it's great. And I I was like, cool. I was like, he was on the ship, right? So I was satisfied that I had seen him before. It did feel, it was kind of after seeing season 7 and all the hubbub around it. It kind of almost felt like, oh, cool. I'm glad y'all threw this in here. It's great. It really is. But it is, and people are like, can't you just be happy with what you have? And it's like, no, I'm not going to be happy with what I have.
Yeah, so you would have liked to have seen more of a build up, more
anything.
Of a,
Shiro talking to Curtis one time outside of all this. And it is great though. And to have it in the epilogue, and I do think it was fine. It was fine. I'm glad it happened. And this is a big deal for DreamWorks, I believe.
Yes, big.
It's a very big deal for DreamWorks. Yes. The same studio that brought us what is his name? Dear God.
Shrek?
I know, LOL Shrek. No, I'm talking about How to Train Your Dragon and Hiccups, the blacksmith. What is his name? It starts with a G, I think.
I know what you're talking about.
He's gay. We know that. It's just they can't hint at it enough. But so this is a big deal for DreamWorks. And Gobber, his name's
Another movie coming out in 3 months.
Yes. But it's just I part of it was I was so mad about Allura that I was like, I don't really care. But it was I literally just watched it. But it's one of those things. It was nice they put it at the end, but there has been no mention of anything for 8 seasons. We got season 7 heavily censored. I knew he was gay, but that's because I have my gay goggles on all the time because I'm gay. How that works.
Oh, is that how that works? Okay.
It is. And we also did have, I did enjoy, honestly, something better that, we can maybe talk about just for a brief moment was Sethrid and Inzor.
Yes.
So
that was very gay.
That was so gay. Also Veronica, and I don't know how you say it.
Actually, yeah, we'll get to Zethra and Nezra in a second.
But,
that's also big,
so we can have that, but we don't okay, Shiro, here's a man for you. I'm glad Shiro got a happy ending because that man deserves it. But I'm happy, cool. It's what's sad is that this is such a big deal, and like it basically wasn't anything. That's kind of what's like it is something. It's very important for us moving forward from here. But in terms of watching it, you don't watch it. You don't watch it. It's just a picture.
In terms of a build up for a romance, yes.
Yeah. But I mean, this is a big deal, and I'm happy it happened. And considering the legacy core left, and we have a lot of the same crew here on Voltron, this is a good legacy. And this is something amazing, and we are continuing to move forward from here.
Okay, cool. And like you said, is a big moment for DreamWorks, who did not think was capable of this. Yeah, not only this is the first non-Cartoon Network kiss involving a main character, and so that's there's like they're
in context of some of the other shows we have covered in 2018. This is kind of disappointing that it was DreamWorks, that it was.
Yeah, and it potentially bodes well for future DreamWorks shows.
It does, and I think for other projects as well. That if DreamWorks can do this, that.
Yeah, I did not think DreamWorks would be second to the gun here, so that's very good. Justin, what was your reaction to seeing this, and how are you thinking about it now?
I wish I had this when I was a young lad, and it wouldn't have taken me till college to realize I like dudes. But it's cool. I'm not
relatable. That was me and Cora, so I feel you.
I think to me, I completely understand the whole there's no build up, but on the other hand, it's like, does it need? I feel like I understand the want of, oh, this is a cop out, this is shoehorned in, but on the other hand, Shiro does not owe you any explanation for why he fell in love with this man. Like, to me, I see it and I'm like, yeah, he found another person, he's happy. And I think that as much as we talk about this show, the key demographic for DreamWorks is that young male audience. That's why they make so many toys that combine, like that is their key demographic. That's what is able to keep the show funded. And the fact that I think this is probably Adventure Time 2, but this is the first like mech action traditional quote unquote boy show to have a same-sex kiss in Western animation. And I think that is just, to me, the fact that it happened at all in a quote unquote, boy show, action show, mech show, boys are just watching their giant robots and then, oh, it's okay to kiss a guy. Like, to me, I think had there been a build up, it would have been better. But I'm completely happy with this because of what show it's in. I think that this is not the show I expected to do it. I mean, I think that we all kind of expected it more just knowing who made the show. But actually looking at it, this is a reboot of an 80s mech anime by the people that brought you Madagascar 3. Like, this should not, in all reality, we should have not expected anything. But we got more than what we honestly should have expected. I think that we expected more knowing who made the show. But for, like you said, for DreamWorks to do this was actually really, really important. And I think it's going to have a positive impact on a lot of young kids who in 10 years are going to be us podcasting. Like, yeah, this episode changed me. This episode really positively impacted my life.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I think a great point with this is complete credit to Joaquin, Lauren, and the crew who, this is solely because of them. And right, the context of the show should not have, probably would not have allowed this in, and probably why they got so much pushback and why they're heavily censored in the previous season. Probably this scene was also censored in a large capacity. Probably. I assume that this was, generally, I try to say this every time we talk about this now because nobody's aware of it, but every show you're watching has had queer representation censored constantly. It is not just an isolated incident. So, and yeah, Justin, like you said, the biggest impact will be on the young kids, especially boys watching this who, this is unprecedented, for them having access to this. So that's a really big deal. Yeah, Alex, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm impressed." Like Voltron actually did it. So, like, because as Justin mentions, like, this isn't the type of show that you expect it to come from, like in terms of genre. So the fact that we end on that shot, like, is like an accomplishment in itself. I wonder though. I think part of the problem why it didn't have the effect on some viewers that it may have is also the fact that like Shiro as a character, like this in the past couple of seasons, he's gotten the focus of getting the gay representation up. Last season he had the Adam thing, and like that broke him and made him sad. And then this season he really had nothing to do except lead the Atlas, kind of show up every once in a while to be like, hey, loosen up at the carnival, and that's it. So, and then Shiro at the very end, we get the kiss. But the problem is that like Shiro was such a big character in the first half of the show, and then like slowly as we went into the clone stuff and like we like turned him into like a very emotionless person. Even when he came back, he kind of stayed emotionless, and so the like that kind of hurts the connection to the character. And so when he gets something great like this, to the point where they have to be so on the nose with the crawl of he found his happiness. Like I don't know, but like that phrase stood out to me as like very like hitting a nail on a hammer sort of thing. So because like Shiro is portrayed, especially in the second half of the show, as just not really having any emotions or like just not having anything to hang on to. So his character, I think his characterization in the second half of the show is part of why that this moment might not have as much of an effect as it maybe should. But all the same, I think that it's impressive that this got in at all. And also the fact that like even a show like Steven Universe that we compared to, like that we've also heard a lot of stories about how much they fought to get that stuff through, and that's with all the buildup that they had already done. So imagine like with something like Voltron, where this didn't end up getting through until very very late in the show, until the ending. So you have to imagine there's a similar process that like finally broke through right when they were ending. So just considering all of that in context, like it still makes it an impressive moment. But I just feel kind of sad that like the lack of Shiro in these final two seasons caused this moment to not have the effect that it should.
Yeah, definitely can't be understated how much Joaquin and Lauren probably had a fight to get this moment in the show. So I would keep that in mind when commenting about it online. Like, this is not it's not, they can't just do what they want. This is a property owned by a large corporation. And I think the Steven Universe thing, it's like even in the context that got Steven Universe to break through, like in this, I feel like Voltron also has a similar thing. It's like the moment to break through is like the really hard thing, and this was that for the show. I think there's a lot of reasons to not be happy with what we ultimately got here, and those are very valid. And we've talked about them. Alex has great points about Shiro not being a particularly well-focused character the last few seasons. Delaney talked about how that this romance was not really built up at all, and certainly it would have been better and more validating if this had actually been a romance arc that was presented. All of that being said, my main reaction was just very positive to this, and to the fact that we actually saw this, which I was not expecting after last season, knowing that they had a kiss censored. They got it through. It's fantastic. I'm really proud of them and all the work that everyone on the show did. I was personally surprised how validating and personally meaningful it saw to actually see that. And like, it's a big deal. So like, I don't know. It's a little frustrating to see so much negative reaction. Like, I'm really happy with ending the show on this note. Like, that's a huge thing. And, just seeing like two men kiss on screen like that, and with like a character who is near and dear to the hearts of the viewers in Shiro. It's a fantastic way to end the show, and I think gives Voltron progressive legitimacy beyond, the contents of the show, in the history of animation. So yeah, I think it's really great. It's in the context of a year where we've had a bunch of good stuff, and we're gonna hopefully get into that in a separate podcast going through all of that. But yeah, it's interesting that it's interesting to talk about the season of Voltron ending on this note. It feels like separate things. I do feel like it seems like a little bit of a separate thing, which is to the point of some frustrations in how it was handled. It feels like, okay, we talked about the last shot. Now let's talk about the actual season. Which is, I guess, where I'm going to transition to. But that being said, yeah, a lot of positive reactions from us. It looks like to a certain extent.
Well, just one minor thing, like with the montages, the ending. It's just interesting to point out that like all the montage shots are stills except for the Shiro kiss, which we do get to see in motion. I think that was a good decision to like let that be the one that's in motion. This was like a minor animation thing.
Yeah, so I think it was just beautifully presented. Yeah, like you said, and also the music behind it is the music cue that stuck out to me the most in the entire series, the final cue for Voltron. So it was just a really beautiful scene. Yeah. Okay. We'll talk a little bit more in a separate podcast, but let's get into anything else from the season. Now we have, I guess, more brief thoughts on other things from the season 8. And I want to know something that stood out to you from the season. I think let's go to that, and we can like briefly touch on the things that did stand out. A character, a plot line that maybe jumps out at you. You look back fondly on from the season. Delaney, anything come to mind there?
I definitely have two like big things. So first is my child Pidge. So I really love when they go to Alcarion and it's destroyed, and it's Pidge and Allura, and Pidge is like living the history of Alcarion, like learning what happened. I think that was beautifully presented, and one, it's Pidge, and I think we've kind of like we were talking about, with such a large ensemble, and when we focused on Keith for like 3 seasons, and when we lose focus on characters here and there, but I do think we did a really great job with Pidge specifically this season, and we have, in some seasons we kind of like she gets slid back a little bit, but I really love this episode, and for Pidge and Allura's relationship has always been important to me in the show, and I really did love that. Was like the jumping around and Reiner and all of that. I really did enjoy it. What?
Battle Scars,
yes, Battle Scars. I love that episode. It was also like hilarious that the Weblum was in it. Like, what's so random? Why was the Weblum in it? But I do think that was a great episode. Like, just how it was presented, and flashing between the present, and also it was another thing that we hadn't really dealt with a lot of the aftermath. In the show to we're always saving places, and we know that the Galra are terrible, but after the fight in season 7, it just happened so suddenly, and you're like, what the heck was that? But then to come to Alcarion, where we had spent a whole episode in Alcarion, and we dealt with a lot of stuff on Alcarion, and I really love the planet and like the people on it, and it's really cool. But then to go back and to see it decimated was very powerful. And I think one of the more powerful messages about war that the show has done, because the show, it's played with things here and there, but I do think this was really great. It's just in its entirety, and I think it was a wonderful journey for Pidge. And it also connected well with, it never made a lot of sense why, I get that the green line's green, but the nature stuff, but then to have that connection. And then I don't remember her name, the other paladin. When she was like talking to Pidge and being like, I'm really glad.
The original Pidge, yeah.
The original
That
Pidge.
was such a sweet scene.
Like, that was really cute. That is another thing to transition into. I really did like when they fought the old paladins and, had their little heart-to-hearts and they talked. And I did get over it very fast, though, because I was like, can y'all go away yet? But then I finally understood why they didn't go away, and we actually finally dealt with Zarkon, which was something I wasn't anticipating. So that was something nice that happened. So I really enjoyed that. And then I think Alex mentioned this, that he really loved the Enerva flashbacks. And I do think that it's obvious Enerva's like one of the best villains ever. And I think they've done a great job with her the entire series. But she's evil, and she's like horrifically evil, but you feel bad for her like the whole time because it's tragic. And I do think one of the the flashback episode specifically. I think it's the second episode. I don't remember what it's called.
Yep. Shadows.
That is one that I think that might be one of the a contender for one of the best episodes of the series. Was I understand that it's really just catching you up, but to see those scenes, because things happened very quickly when we realized that Enerva was Lotor's mom, and then understanding that Zarkon and Enerva didn't remember their history. But then now we have found out that we think Zarkon may have known the whole time. It gets very unclear kind of in the middle of season 8 whether Zarkon knew what he was doing or not. Because he's said, "Do you know who I am?" And she's like, "You're the Emperor." And it's like, "Do you know? Do you know? Don't know." But it is really tragic to see it all unfold, and it makes. I think it would make me. I would like to go and rewatch things because it was all very confusing when they when it first was they're not who they think they are and they don't know, but I do think the flashbacks really helped, and especially understanding Lotor's side of things. Also, baby Lotor is adorable, but little kid of Lotor, it's so cute. He's so little. His stupid little legs, so cute. But
is it weird that Baby Lotor reminds me of Pharaoh's kid from The Prince of Egypt?
It's a weird comparison.
I think it makes sense. That is
because they both have little British voices, and they're like,
"That's fair.
Daddy, what's wrong?"
Alex is just in a DreamWorks mood.
It reminds me a lot of Zuko.
Yeah.
We
also made
Zuko.
that comparison on previous podcasts. Yeah. Yeah, good stuff there. I love the highlighting of battle scars. That's one we haven't talked about a ton. I think that episode's just super gorgeous.
It's astonishing. It's so good.
Yeah, definitely one of the highlights.
Can I just ask, though, from that episode and the first episode with Telkarion, had we done anything with Pidge's plant thing?
There is one part where she uses it, and that's it.
Okay, so that explains why that episode didn't work on me, because I was like,
yes.
Okay, let's get to what they're looking for. The flashbacks were they're well presented, the whole idea of seeing the past while you're still in the present. That framing thing works, but I just don't care. We haven't been in this planet for 4 seasons. Why is this? Why is this?
You don't deeply love Pidge the way I do, so I understand.
I think Alcarian was one of the planets that we're supposed to care about. It was in a few episodes.
No, but it's one of those things where there's so many planets and we see so many people, and it's this is cool, but I also kind of don't there was I was talking about the farewell tour, and we had I don't remember his name, in whatever episode it was, they send the ship to do reconnaissance. And they all die, right? I know that guy was in a cave in the Rebels, but I don't know his name, and he died. I was like, am I supposed to be sad? You were in one episode.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I think,
I barely remember the Balmera was a living thing.
I did not remember that, so I was, yep. But,
I forgot there's more than one Balmera.
I also didn't know that, yeah.
I was like, there was more than one. Oh, there's a lot of you. Okay.
That one had genuinely been a long time since we saw that. Okari was in the show recently, at least. Yes. So that's why I think this was more successful than the other ones, but yeah.
I didn't, literally could not tell you what the cubes did.
Yeah.
They enhanced the energy.
Tech.
No, they were we're stealing the cubes, and I was like, what did those do? I don't remember.
It was just high-tech cubes. I don't know.
I was like, you're green. I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff there. Yeah, we'll get into.
I remember the name of the episode was Greening the Cube, and that's the only reason I knew the cube were important.
Oh yeah, Greening the Cube.
Another dumb episode title. Anyway,
okay, we'll get back to favorite episodes in a second. Justin, a few highlights from the season.
So my highlight of the show, I was a huge fan of, again, the documentary episode, because I love the Atlas crew. Specifically all of our Atlas ladies. Aksha apparently now is an Atlas lady. Veronica,
why didn't we have more of that? That was amazing.
There's at least, unlike Korra, where we had to wait 3 years for the comic book, there's already a Voltron comic, so I'm just waiting for my only Veronica Aksha issue. I'm ready. Please deliver to me next Wednesday. Thank you.
Yes.
There is a number of people in the show who I am very attracted to. There was I think it was the season 6 podcast where I would not shut up about my love of Shiro, and
no, hot dad.
He is hot dad.
You're famous for your love of hot
There are so
dad.
many characters on this show who really rev my lions, and
Okay, goodbye. I'm leaving.
I had to think of a phrase I could say. Hashtag rev my lions.
That's barely allowed.
Goodbye. I don't think it is allowed.
It's allowed.
Justin, do you like Shiro more or less than hot dad?
Shiro.
Yeah.
Keith. Oh, no. See, Hunk may have stolen Shiro's hot dad spot in that aging postcard where it's like, oh, here's the group picture, and then they age up like 10, 15 years. Hunk lived up to his name, let me tell you.
Okay.
You talk about how old Shiro looks, though? I was like, you old.
I love Hunk. He's one of my favorite characters. So
Kid
seeing
grew
him,
like 5 feet.
Yeah, Adult Pidge is great, okay? She's amazing. I want a whole spin-off just on her.
Delaney,
not until I get Hunk hosting Intergalactic Iron Chef.
That's fair.
Yeah, Justin, original hot dad was Keith's dad, right? That's your...
Yes. Oh no.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
Yes,
Yes,
to be in love with.
God, I was uncomfortable the whole time. I remember.
There are so many characters in this show that I just would love to be stranded in space with. Like, I really like.
Okay, we get it. Okay, thank you. Thank you. That was good.
A line for a while. Talk about the universe.
Okay, that's sweet. Yeah.
Is it?
I will have missed how many attractive people were in this show. Honestly, I'm gonna miss that.
Yeah, I guess that doesn't really apply to other shows. So just wanted to get it out there. There's
I have Mystery Girl from Steven Universe left, and that's about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Alex, some things that stood out to you from this season.
I want to get your thoughts on Lance in this season because he's in it a lot, like a lot more than the average season. Yeah, that's kind of the problem, right? Because Lance starts off in this show as like the immature guy who's like all over the place and all over girls, and he's like he transforms into a more mature person, and like he gets the motivating speeches in a couple of seasons. But then this season, where we finally dedicate to Allurance, like Lance just kind of becomes he becomes full on supporting boyfriend, which is nice. But at the same time, it's like it kind of ruins the edge that Lance once had as a character. Like he only gets to be sad for Allura or protect Allura or cry when Allura sacrifices himself. He kind of loses getting to be himself. Now, I will say that Lance-Keith interactions here were kind of the best of the show.
Oh my God, they were so good.
Yeah, like when they get to talk together, that's great. And like it that is what hits home the most of how much Lance has gotten himself together, that they can just like have mature conversations about like what's going to happen to us later. Don't worry, we'll get through it, sort of thing. Like that was never Lance's thing. And now it finally is, and he can do it to Keith. So like Lance-Keith conversation is great. And I wish there was more of that. But like Lance, otherwise, he's kind of just the person attached to Allura. And I kind of feel bad about that. Also, at the same time, I think as a person, this is the Lance maybe I'd prefer to hang out with, but he's not as exciting of a character at this point. So I feel weird about him because I think I like him a lot, especially in the season, but at the same time, I can't defend him being kind of a cardboard cutout compared to what he's been in other seasons.
I think I honestly think they did Allura and Lance poorly. Like, I mean, I enjoyed watching it on screen, but it's not that I forgot Lance was in love with Allura, but I never, like, it just happens in the first episode. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I was like, we've spent the entire series of Allura not being interested in Lance, and he just asked her on a date, and she says yes? What? Like, I know they grew closer in season 7, but, like,
it was a little fast. Yeah.
And the line of "I want to be your family" or something like that. Like,
and he's like, and I'm like, he's not going to do this. No way. And he goes, "I love you." And I'm like, Jesus, Lance.
I thought he was gonna propose.
Honestly,
he's like, I know it's a little fast, and I'm like, please don't propose. Please don't propose. I love you. I'm like, still a lot, but you're better than I thought you were doing.
I just like it's like it like on screen it was very cute and it was fine. Like it's what every like if we're going to have like a het relationship, it was great. It was beautiful. It's what Mako and Korra could have been. Not that they wanted them to be together, but like that Carnival episode was a wreck, and this Carnival episode was way better. But like, Like it was so
Real arm
sudden.
wrestling
Like
highlight.
at least like
I didn't expect that comparison.
I know no one did. So, the little me's
There
in
was
my
a
head.
carnival
Like,
episode
what?
in Korra.
Anyway,
we
always
forget
are.
about it.
Have you met
It's-
me?
we-
But
There was a
I mentioned Cole and Harry Potter. Like this is why I'm on the
Yeah,
podcast.
I'm waiting for the Harry Potter reference. We try to forget
did
the
it.
Korra. We try to forget.
She
Korra
already
book
did a
too.
Harry Potter
I already
reference.
did a Harry Potter reference.
I missed it. Okay,
That was like forever ago. But like I'm glad it wasn't just me though, because I was like, they're dating? What? And he was like, yeah, my girlfriend. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Okay,
he was like, no. My favorite part though was like the moment I was actually shocked was like, like Hunk was being cute and supportive, and then afterwards when they go to Pidge, like Alora's like, yeah, I have a date with Lance. I'm like, you think it's a date? Like I was like, so confused. Other thing though, real quick, I did want to bring up another thing that I loved from the season was Pidge and her mom. Oh my god. Like,
Yes.
It's so good. Like they just argue and like when she's like, I'm grounded, and like I forgot she was even there, and she's like, oh yeah, like the animation in that scene is so good, and they like pick Pidge up and like walk away with her.
What's her name? The other Altea, not Alora.
Ramel.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
I
Her
got
whole
you.
we promise she will not leave the ground at any point. Like
It just
greatest line
like
of the
Colleen
season.
is the best. Like
Well-
what a great mom, because she's like she's grounded, and they're just like arguing, and then like she has this like evil grin, and then later like my favorite scene actually that I like, one of the top 5 scenes I've seen in my life that was like so relatable was when Pidge is like, I'm out of tokens, can I have some tokens? And then he's like, her dad's like, how many do you need? And she's like, how many do you have? And as soon as she's about to give them, her mom swipes them, and it's like, you have to take a picture with me, and they like negotiate. Like, she's like, I want a family picture. It's
Half
so
smart.
good. It's so good. Like, I live for that kind of nonsense. It was so relatable. Like,
Nice.
so good. I just wanted, like, again, of course, I love all things Pidge, but Pidge and her mom were like the best. Like,
Yeah,
it was the best. I think it was like one of the most accurate representations of a 15-year-old girl. Like, and being like a nerdy 15-year-old girl. Like, I'm like, this is me. Like, this was me when I was 15.
Oh, that's
We mentioned
fantastic.
the original Paladins. Can we talk about how awkward and uncomfortable the Lance Alfor scene was, and then how very quickly we had 5 seconds of Alora and her father. Like he was treated like one step above
I
the
felt
other
the love
Paladins.
you
Like, we
feel for my daughter. Why did you say that out loud?
That was so uncomfortable for everyone. Like as soon as I realized who was matched up, I'm like, Lance is with Alfor. This isn't gonna go well.
And my girlfriend's like, wait a minute. And I was like, uh-oh.
And I saw that.
Of course, we have to have the prerequisite. Yes, I'm her father, and I am allowing this to happen.
Yeah, you have to have the shovel talk.
You have my
thanks.
blessing.
Good
You need to
job,
have the shovel talk with her dead dad. That's how extra this was.
It's
It was
pretty
so
extra.
uncomfortable for everyone.
Okay, that's a lot of stuff. I agree. Colleen was a standout. I forgot about that a little bit. She's the standout side.
Oh, in the
character
video,
season.
that was also the best part of the documentary episode, was her trying to be like, boom, boom, plants. And Colleen's like,
Yeah,
Just
I like
so
it.
much great recycled poop. Like that's a great line in itself.
Okay.
Plants.
Okay. Back to some stuff Alex said for a quick second. Keith and Lance, yes, the 2 standout scenes this season, and how dare you say that they're the best clan scenes, though. Season 1, them flirting, that was obviously the best.
That was so long ago.
wait, are we not talking about when, are you talking about when he like carries his body? Like which one
Yes.
is okay, that was obviously the best.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Look, I like my
The
relationships to be
point
based on open communication, okay? And
Okay,
I
it's
really
good that they
appreciate-
got there, but it was also fantastic originally. At least we got some Keith and Lance at the end, even if that we genuinely thought they were doing clans at the beginning, and they did not go anywhere with that. Which a lot of fans are upset about, and I don't think is particularly legitimate, considering the show never really said it was doing anything
No.
with that. Yeah.
You don't know what happened.
Also, it'd be awkward because
So-
Keith has like grown up like 25 years in comparison to the rest
Keith
of
is
them.
also older now. Yeah, he is. Let me defend Lance for a second. My fave. I think that's he's
Oh, wow,
secondary
that's your
to.
fave. Okay.
See, well, he hasn't been very good, so I've been hiding.
We haven't
that,
gotten to
but,
Slav yet, Alex. That's why. Lance
Oh well, Slav is my
Ah.
true fave, but Lance, he was definitely like auxiliary to Allura this season, which is because they were trying to characterize Allura primarily. I think this is supposed to be the ultimate evolution of Lance. Like in in season 1, he is very selfish, very hot-headed, very not very respectful to women, maybe. Although it wasn't ever overtly to an extent where he's super unsympathetic, but he's just very like trying to hit on everyone. Not a great look. This is he's full on supportive to his girlfriends, and he's selfless and
like if I like boys, I'd date Lance.
Yeah, he's sweet. Like there's no getting around that.
Right,
My
so
girlfriend is looking at me very appalled. I'd pick Keith first.
Keith, that's the debate. Okay. No, the point is that
I would date Laura. Okay, I'm gay, but still.
I date everyone.
Yeah, we got that. We got that part.
My girlfriend's like, why wouldn't you date Hunk? Because that's her favorite. If she was straight, she'd date Hunk. Just to make everyone clear.
He's now my favorite person in this podcast at the moment.
Glad there's so many options, apparently. The point being that this is the culmination of a transformation for Lance that has been shown on screen. It's not just that he's suddenly auxiliary; it's that we've slowly seen him maturing, and it's definitely not to the extent that I would have liked that we've saw step by step through it. He's taken back seats sometimes. Sometimes he's been more of a focus.
Like it wasn't the Keith journey that we got to have.
Yeah, I do think Keith's arc was better, but I do think that this earns what I saw from him this season to enough of an extent where I did appreciate the way he was characterized, and I think Lance kind of ends the show as a good character. I think that
he's like a hot farmer. Like everyone should be happy.
Like I think at the various points throughout this show, Lance was not a good character, and I do think we got there with him to enough of an extent.
No, we did. For the record, I was only upset that I was like, why are they dating? Like I was like, that happened so fast.
Yeah. Well, the presentation of Lance and Allura, that was the show never did any romance for 7 seasons, and then right away we get into that. That was very jarring. But,
I was like, what?
Yeah.
I think they realized they had 1 season left, and they're like, oh no.
Yeah, basically. I think so.
Alex? It's our last night on Earth. I'm like, y'all are being really dramatic.
Yeah, no, the Delaney mentioning that he becomes a farmer at the end, and I do feel the need to bring up that like Lance it says that he's Cuban in the show, and like them making the Hispanic character become a farmer at the end.
Yeah,
like it felt a little weird to me. Like I have to say, I'm not offended by it. Like I'm sure there are people who might be, but at the same time, I won't deny that like it feels like a weird way to go, especially considering that like Lance.
Did we know they had a farm?
Somebody said that they mentioned it. I don't remember it. My only connection to Lance and the farm is that he has the cow. Like that's it, and that was as a joke. That's what
matters.
But like that was as a joke. The Lance ending just gave me a bit of a sour note to end Lance on, but overall,
he was like, "I have a simple life, which is how I like it." I'm like, "Is that how you like it?"
Like again, it speaks to Dylan's point that this is the culmination of Lance's transformation as a character to like becoming content with what he has, sort of thing. But it just it feels weird because we've known Lance for so long as not that. And so, like, I get that you want to say that it's an earned transformation, but like, at the same time, I feel like the jump from season 7 to season 8 just feels a little bigger of a jump. Like, season 7 Lance is, I think, like where I would have expected him to end.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a jump there. That if they had a little bit more time, they would have, or they should have, they had plenty of time. But Lance being Cuban, Alex probably not ultimately well handled by the show.
Well, it's like everyone gets these super cool endings, and it's like Lance is a farmer, and I'm like,
I don't have many thoughts on that.
But to the show's credit, the one thing that there is the family dinner at the first episode. I think that's handled pretty well. It's a cute scene. Like we see their whole family. Lance is introducing his relatives. You got Luis in there. So like that scene is like probably the best that Voltron ever did in terms of Lance's backstory. So like there's some positive in there, but like it wasn't great overall.
Okay. I empathize so strongly with having to bring a girl home to get out of the kids' table. Like I've been there, done that, Lance. Like I finally earned my spot at the big kids' table. I understand.
Congratulations. Okay. Well, I promised to get back to Ezor and Zethrid, so we can quickly talk about the Grudge, which we thought these characters were dead last season. We were pretty convinced, Ezor and Zethrid, and then we learn they're alive. The reveal with Zethrid, the ending of this episode with Ezor having left her because Zethrid's still like bad, and them getting back together at the end of it. Kind of this anti-fridging Delaney, I would say. Like we thought they're dead, and then actually they're alive, and they kind of get a happy ending.
Yeah. I forgot they were dead. I
I'll
was
be
like,
honest.
why do I care that Zephyr's being revealed? Oh, she was dead.
I'll be honest,
Oh,
I forgot they were dead too, but I was like, cool, it's Zethrid. But then, like, at first I was like, Inzor's dead. And then they were like, she broke up with me. And I was like, this is so good. Like, I was like, this is the best.
Yeah. See, that's the thing that stood out to me. Like, what did we see anything of like Ezor becoming good off screen?
No, it was off screen. But
okay,
yeah. All of this was off
that
screen.
felt a little weird.
Well, yeah, it's these characters were main characters at some point, and then they were in one episode last season, one episode this season. I guess they're in the background with some ending stuff. Yeah, what I love about the like she broke up with me thing is like she's gone. I thought it was like, oh, you survived and she died.
That's
it's
what
like
I
playing with
thought,
our
too.
expectations. Yeah, I think
And then
that's
she's
on
like,
purpose.
she broke up with me. And I was like, this is the best.
It really, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I love that episode.
No, it was
like
so
the-
good. Like, well,
yeah.
the whole time I didn't care that they were chasing the others. I was like, okay, who is hunting Keith? I was like, it's someone we know, but who is it? And then it was Zethrid, and I was like, I'm so shocked because I was like, what? And then it
Yeah.
just got so good.
Yeah, I wish like that there was more than 2 out of 26 episodes spent on this arc, but like for what it was, I think it was kind of thrilling.
I'm very
in the last
satisfied
year.
by it. Like, it was really funny. And then when they break out and she's like, let me help you.
Yeah, it was good. We also had, as you mentioned, Aksha and Veronica, which I would not count as
No.
queer representation.
I felt it though. No,
Okay.
it was so good though. Like, okay, so she's like, she waited. She's like, come eat with us. And then it was like so horrifically awkward. And then later
so terrible.
they have like the guns and she's like, you snuck up on me. And I was like, say you just want to be your friend. And then Veronica says it. And I was like, yes. And like, Veronica is just like laying it on so hard. I'm like, I feel this is so good.
And like Aksha is the one who like steps in that final scene and be like, "Hey, Ezra left because you were being mad and stuff, and she had to leave." And then like Zethra tries to shoot Aksha, but Veronica steps in to snipe her.
It's
like,
so good.
Veronica saves Aksha. Yay!
It's
like that was
stuff.
great. I like Veronica especially.
I ship
like,
it.
She's
Veronica's so great. Veronica's so
Well,
better than Lance. I'm sorry.
Wow. I think Veronica was a standout of last season, and she didn't really get the spotlight I was looking for this season.
Right, same.
Yeah. But like I said in the previous podcast, the B plot in this episode integrates incredibly well to the A plot at the end. Like I think that I'm just in love with the Grudge and how it's constructed narratively. Yeah, and Aksha should note Aksha and Keith did not go anywhere.
I was like, what? Come on, guys.
Are we upset?
I'm honestly the one
Oh,
thing
didn't you say you shipped it last? I think you said.
Oh, I totally said I shipped it last time. I was fine with it. I am
you
a little-
devastated?
I'm not devastated. I was kind of like, is it going to happen? And then like I was like, guess not. They didn't speak to each other the entire season, so
The show's a little all over the place with its.
it's a little. I think it's a lot all over the place. This season was cray cray, and this entire show is like all over the place.
There's a lot of
Ezor.
Zethard and Ezor.
Before we get away from them, I do just want
Like
to
they
say,
got Kroila and Kolivar together, but we can't get Keith. And like, are you serious?
in Keith's epilogue, where they talk about the Blades of Malmora, the Blades
Whatever it
now
is.
being
Blades of
a
Malmora.
Yeah.
organization, we see Zephrid and Ezor are now part of the Blades, helping out humanitarian
Good stuff.
relief.
No, it's
And
hilarious
small
to me that
children
they said
hanging
like
off Zephrid.
humanitarian relief. Like to me, that is so funny that this happened.
People said that in the previous podcast too. Yeah, they said
It's hysterical.
Forget who said. Okay, interesting.
The Red
That's
Cross Blades.
Also, like I understand that like Keith is so obnoxious, it's so good. But like I was like when I saw like, you know, that like it looks like the Kralls era, and I was like, oh my god, it's gonna be Keith. And then obviously I knew he wasn't gonna do it because that's not who Keith is, but I was a little not satisfied that it wasn't Keith.
Yeah.
I was like, be king, do it.
Yeah, no,
He's too good.
I like that they kind of subverted that stupid trope with the you must I think with Lance tell him that you must refuse to be
Yeah,
the
he was like,
leader,
yeah,
right?
basically.
Yeah.
That was really good.
That was actually good trope subversion there.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It was really funny.
Yeah. Okay. Quick around the horn favorite episode. I think Delaney said Shadows. I would also say Shadows. Alex.
I'm I've kind of been convinced that The Grudge is a really good episode after talking it through. Like,
I'll be honest, I don't remember. I only remember like 3 of the episodes.
Yeah, like I would have said the documentary episode just to like piss Dylan off, but like I think the Grudge is legitimately good. So I think and also like the A plot B plot thing does convince me. So I'll say The Grudge. I'll say The Grudge.
Okay, yeah. Justin?
I'll say Day 47.
That would be my worst of the season. Okay.
You're wrong. You're wrong, Dylan, but okay.
Because you don't like hunk, you don't appreciate food.
I like the idea of that episode. I'll say that. I think The Grudge would probably be my number 2. Also Genesis. We talked about this previous podcast anyway.
Which episode is Genesis?
The mid-season finale, the one where we think Lotor's back. Yeah. And then no. We talked about minor characters enough, so we can skip over that. I will. Yeah. Slav, obviously I love, and talked about him on the previous podcast. So let's move to closing out our Voltron coverage here with talking about Voltron as a series as a whole. A post-mortem for Voltron is what I'd call.
Do you get it, guys?
I don't know if they do get it, but yeah.
That's an episode. There was an episode?
There's an episode.
That's when Zarkon dies. It's post-mortem, yeah.
I'm impressed. Delaney, you remember a lot of stuff about Voltron. I'm impressed with this. I don't know.
Okay, if we're gonna be honest, like if we talk about coverage, other than Miraculous Ladybug, I have probably been like...
You've been a lot, yeah. Well, we start to finish. You and I were doing Voltron, yeah. And then Justin also been on a ton of them, Jeff, and then we've had Alex, Andy, Haley, Steve, others as well. Yeah, we've Voltron start to finish coverage. It's a show that we have thought highly of. We've finally seen the conclusion here. I guess, Delaney, what are you going to remember about the show? What do you think looking back on the entire series? Are you emotional about it ending? All of that stuff.
I don't think I am emotional about it ending, which is like uncharacteristic for me as a person. But because if you listen to like our coverage on Korra and Gravity Falls and Mysticons, which I'm still upset about Mysticons, I'm not going to talk about it, but it's not. I don't think necessarily that it's necessarily like the worst thing ever. That I'm not like I enjoyed Voltron, I really did, but it is something we've talked about like the entire series. Like they have great characters, but they're not really necessarily like. I am not the most attached to every single character on Voltron. I was devastated by Allura dying, and Pidge is my child, but that's about it. And you know, the show didn't give enough time to Pidge, and then they killed Allura, so like I'm over it. But I really did enjoy the series. I don't think I'm going to miss, I think, the show visually most of all, is that it was a gorgeous show, like so gorgeous, beautifully animated. And I am struggling to think of its equal, like after Korra, it's Voltron, it's gorgeous. And, that's the thing, we'll be waiting for the next, like, gorgeously animated show. I will say, after, like, when we first started in season 1, I would not have anticipated me liking the show as much as I do now, or is it being as successful as it is ending currently, or at its peak in season 6. Like, season 1 was a little rough, and the first 3 episodes of the show are, like, mildly terrible. And I have to, like, I tell people to watch Voltron, and I'm like, get through the first 3 episodes, and it gets great, I promise. Like, I'm like, it's just get through it, and it's fine. But... like, I do think the show has done incredible things. I will say I never would have imagined me loving basically a mech anime this much, because that's not my thing to watch. And I will say this was something I would have liked to mention earlier, and it's something my girlfriend said while we were watching, was, season 8 really just reminds you that it's a mech anime, like, real hard.
Yeah. Yep.
And
yeah.
And that's the thing, like, I really did enjoy Voltron. It is not my favorite genre at all. But I do think they've done an incredible job, I think, taking a genre that is, laughed at, that is, it's popular, people love it, but it's not something taken seriously. And to bring it to this level and to have it, it's not, to take it from, this isn't Transformers. Like, this is Western animation, like, mech anime, and it's incredible. Like, they have done a great job visually. They have done a great job with characters plot-wise. We have had diversity. We had an incredible ending for same-sex representation. And for a year of female same-sex representation, for Voltron to end on male same-sex is incredible. And like I really just enjoyed the show. It's great. I will say season 8 is not the peak, and if maybe the show had ended in season 6, it would have been best. But I don't know. Like, I love the show. It's not the best show that we've ever covered, but I really do enjoy Voltron. I do think people should watch it, and like I really did love it, and I do think there have been some great. And to reboot a show like Voltron from the 80s to make it what it is now, they've done an incredible job. And I think I will remember this show fondly, and it's like been great. I've enjoyed covering it with all of you. Yeah. And like it's great. And Pidge is my child. That's it. Like, Pidge is my child, and she must be protected forever.
Okay, that is a proper way to end, I would say, for Voltron. Yeah, fantastic stuff. Definitely about the point of this being the reboot of the old Voltron show. Certainly fantastic for what it is. If you're looking for visual successors to Voltron in terms of animation, I would say Hilda and Castlevania.
We're gonna watch that. That's me and my girlfriend are maybe halfway through Hilda. I don't know. It's been slow going, but Hilda's awesome. Everyone should watch that too.
Yeah. Just in terms of like some of the Hilda, Castlevania, some of those gorgeous.
Should I watch Castlevania?
Yes.
Wait. If you want super violent action, if you want that, you could do. It's a different distinctive style. And then Studio Mir, is responsible for the gorgeousness, along with obviously the US production team on Voltron, has Koji, their original show, coming up at some point. Ooh. So we will look to that to see what Studio Mir is doing next.
Also, a space show, Final Space, has its first season out. Like, there are moments that stand out there in terms of visually speaking too.
Yeah, in terms of being a space show that has some gorgeous animation, episode 9 of Final Space especially, and there's a bunch of them as well. So that's it
looks like Family Guy.
Yeah, I mean it's not as good as Voltron yet, but it's at its first season, and has been gorgeous at times.
The comedy is much better than Family Guy, I'll say, but
that's a some people it's just an interesting take with calling Family Guy not funny. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying.
Okay, wow.
Mel is screaming somewhere.
Yeah, Mel is upset. Okay.
I want everyone to know the entire time I was at Mel's house, all we did was watch Family Guy.
That's a good activity. Okay, Justin, give us your postmortem for Voltron.
This is the only Voltron series to actually end. The original 80s Voltron, everyone only remembers the Lion Voltron because of nostalgia goggles. There was a second season. They were trying to do Robotech where they had 3 different animes combined into one thing. Lion Voltron is Voltron of the Far Universe, and we had the Near Universe of Vehicle Voltron. There was a third one, the Mid Universe, never aired because Vehicle Voltron flopped so hard. That show never finished. The 96 reboot, the CGI 96 one, didn't go well. The 2011 reboot only got 1 season, didn't finish correctly. So the fact that 5 years after that last flop, I mean, Voltron Force is great, go watch it. But after that commercial failure again, 5 years later, they rebooted it for the 3rd time and actually finished a Voltron show.
With 8 seasons.
For the first time in over 30 years, a Voltron show ended. That is the sheer fact that they finally got the 80s reboot formula right, because the Thundercats reboot didn't work. The last Voltron reboot didn't work. And now that Voltron did well, now we got the She-Ra reboot.
Which is so good. So good. Go watch it.
And
right
so
now.
I think Voltron... Go watch She-Ra. But now that Voltron did well, I think the door's open of like, oh wait, we can take shows from the 80s, ones that did super well, like the original She-Ra, and then ones that maybe are only doing well in nostalgia, Voltron, and actually bring them into the modern day, revitalize them, diversify them, take the concept and make it work better. And I think it's honestly changed the way we look at reboots. Nobody was excited for a Voltron reboot, except for the fact it was the people behind Korra. Only reason anybody cared. Because no one cared about a Voltron reboot, as we saw in 2011. Didn't work. So the sheer fact that this show happened and got its correct ending at all is a miracle. And yeah, I will miss it, and I will miss working with all of you on covering this show.
Yes. Okay, good historical perspective on Voltron, and yes, the end of an era and covering this show.
Reboot Robotech next, DreamWorks. Thank you, please.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't said the words Vehicle Voltron or anything like that yet. Maybe you didn't. I tuned it out.
I got all my nerd references in one go.
Okay, good. Alex, parting thoughts here.
By the way, DuckTales is also a reboot that
I
is
need to watch
working
Fair.
well.
DuckTales.
So
It's on
like
my list.
that's going on too. Please listen to our DuckTales podcast. Shameless plug. But anyways, Voltron. The thing that sticks out the most to me, like the thing I'm going to remember is Lotor. Like honestly, he was such a ray of light in this show. Like he lifted the show up. He was a very manipulative but charming villain. He like went through the very evilness to like pretending to be good and then like going back to being crazy. So like he had his whole villain arc and he goes down in a blaze of glory. Like that anti-Voltron fight is my personal favorite of the robot fights in this show. So like Lotor is the thing that made Voltron like especially special for me and like the thing that I most enjoyed out of it. But also like Voltron did manage to have its emotional moments. Like there is the Keith Shiro interaction. By the way, just final season thing. No Keith Shiro interaction whatsoever in season 8, which is kind of disappointing. But Keith Shiro throughout the show had been very well done. Seeing Lance go through his character transformation, like overall that was an impressive arc. And Pidge's whole family thing, like that was a big thing in the first half of the show. And like at times it maybe dragged a little, but like there were huge moments, especially like the time she goes into the graveyard. Like there are scenes of these emotional moments that do stick out and show Voltron at its best. At least, like I think that Voltron, it's a genre show, right? It's an action show. So if you don't like action, as I usually am not, like I'm just not attracted to that stuff. So a lot of the stuff maybe that works for most people that watch don't work for me. But at the same time, I think that Voltron has enough of characterization and humor and like emotional moments that it still ends up being a successful show, regardless if you like the action or not. Like I think there's enough outside of that really makes Voltron a quality show. So in the end, I think that Voltron is a show that it will stick with me. It was one that I was hesitant to get into. I don't think I caught up until they were like season 5 or something like that. So like I was a latecomer. But in the end, I'm happy I did it because there were big moments of the show that did really hit, and there were moments that were really fun, and so that's all I ask out of a show. That like it makes me happy to watch it, and there were definitely moments where I was pumping my fist at times. So it's a show that I'll miss, and I'm glad that it went out when it did. Like it keeps me with the good memories of how it was at its best.
And that's what kept me watching, though, too, was like everything you said. Because I do not like, action is not my thing. Like, there's a reason I stopped watching Ruby, and then like the only
that's the reason. Okay.
God, there's so many reasons I stopped watching Ruby, but like I wouldn't have kept watching Voltron if there wasn't something to keep me there. Because like the especially with everything that happened in this season, like I am so tired of giant robots. Oh my God. I will say this. At least when the Atlas and Voltron fused, it fixed Atlas looking really stupid. It ultimately looked really cool, and it was like I do
looking cool.
It still looked way better than the Atlas did, so that was okay. I mean, I was like rolling my eyes the entire time it was happening, but like, hey, it's still better than when the Atlas turned into anything. Every time the Atlas transformed, my like soul left my body.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They literally call it a transformation sequence in the show.
Yeah, they did.
That's amazing.
It's the best part of the season.
Every time it kept happening, my girlfriend would be like, "Oh my God!" Like every time Voltron transformed, and then there was a couple times when they didn't do the sequence, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so shocked."
Yeah. Delaney, did you hear Ruby got nominated for Best Show on our awards?
I did. I know you've been watching things, and like I remember you posted a picture about like. They're all back together, and I was like, I'm shocked. So, like, there's part of me that
we didn't get
but I'm about to not because, like, I don't think I can emotionally handle how long it's going to take me to be satisfied.
I don't think you should. Okay, so.
Just checking.
Oh, well,
is John still a thing?
Yes, but less so. But yes.
No, not watching it.
Well, bringing this back to Voltron for a second, like you mentioned, like bringing the characters together, and that's kind of also a part of Voltron that I don't want to leave this on a sad note, but I kind of lament the fact that because we had like 5 or 6 main characters, like even when they were together, I feel like we never really get we have to focus on this character, and then we like spend like 8 episodes crossing the other people before we get back to the character. And so because of that, like while the moments are there, but a lot of the times the arcs, so to speak, feel like there's too much time between. Because of that, it feels like there's moments where like Keith is a great character and then he disappears. There's moments where Pidge is a great character and then she disappears. So like I wish that, obviously it's a huge cast, so like it's a daunting task for a writing staff to manage this. But I just kind of wish that I love the characters more than I do. But even with, like, we had moments where they were separated and you give them their own episodes, but then they come together and it's like we only bring them together to do the fight stuff where none of that characterization really matters.
I will say the epilogue was really great though.
Yeah, the epilogue is
like
great.
The dinner. As much as I was sad and frustrated, that was that was nice.
Yeah. So there were moments where like they're all together and it does like feel emotional anyway. So, and I guess like the allure of saying goodbye to everyone, like that's also like a moment where
I was
they're all
so
together.
upset.
It's upsetting, but it brings out emotions, right? So like there are moments where all the characters are together and do get stuff. But I guess just in general, I do feel like the balance of characters was something that the show I feel never really got together, and it's something that I think could have elevated Voltron into something even greater than it already is.
Yes. On that note, my quick final thoughts. I've talked a lot about how Voltron hasn't had heart on this podcast. That's kind of my season finale speech. It needs to find its heart. That being characters, emotional stakes. You guys touched on it great. I've never felt super invested in the characters or emotionally connected with the show. I don't think it ultimately really ever did find its heart.
It found it, but then it threw it out the window because they killed Allura.
That's interesting. Yeah. Some of it's better stuff with Allura there in the last season. That being said, it did have its emotional moments, like Alex got into, and it had some good character moments. And ultimately, though, like I think I'm remembering the show for its incredible visuals, for this epic space journey that we went on from start to finish, like covering it and just watching it from the beginning. I think seasons 3 to 6, which are production wise season 2 for this show, I think is honestly a highlight of modern animation. I think that there are so many standout episodes from that run, that are really just, feats of narrative, animation, and just storytelling in general. And I do think this final season had a few of those as well, which we highlighted. So, and last season had one or two. Like, there's so much good stuff that we don't really get from any other show that we have. Hoping shows like She-Ra can pick up the mantle. But just this kind of like high level dramatic storytelling that we got from Voltron is astounding. I think the Black Paladins is an all-timer episode. That's going to be my number one here. And the fight between Clone Shiro and Keith is one of the best action sequences in modern animation history. Just in general, there were a bunch of fantastic action sequences, especially around that time in the show. And I do think it will be remembered favorably for all these reasons. I really hope this is not the end of an animated show like this, and that there will be more to come in this vein, because there were not a lot while the show was airing on the air like this. And hopefully shows like She-Ra, Young Justice, which is coming back, are going to propel this genre in this medium forward, much like this show I think did, maybe more than any other show of its time. It's been quite the journey with the show and these characters in this podcast, with covering all of it. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to all of this, and let us know parting thoughts you have in the comments, on the YouTube comments, and send us emails. You can also talk with us on our Discord. That's where we're always there at overlyanimated.com/Discord. The Voltron channel will be there probably forever. We'll continue any Slav thoughts I have in a year about his role in the show. I'll post there, and I don't know, what are we going to be talking about with Voltron in a year? Like, where's this character now? What ultimately happened to Shiro and and Curtis. Where's the Shiro Curtis fan fiction that's continuing? What's up with that now?
It's perfect. You can do whatever you want with Curtis.
There's literally a blank slate, so you can just write about it. I anticipate there'll be quite a few of that.
Curtis is an ice skater who becomes partners with Shiro and teaches him how to ice skate.
No, don't make it Yuri on Ice. Come on, we
already have Yuri on Ice.
We have enough of that. We don't need.
What if Yuri on Ice is the alternate reality that got cut off?
Okay, goodbye, everybody.
We were born to make history.
Yes. No history. Thanks to all our patrons at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Our patron of the podcast, Saga Torres, and thanks as always to our patron executive producers, John, Ryan, Steve, Alex, and Hugh. Voltron got 3 nominations in our end of year awards, so you'll see a one
the OVs.
OVAEs /OV/ yeah. The end of you'll get a winners podcast in your Voltron feed as well. We'll see if Voltron picks up any of those 3 categories. You can vote at overlyanimated.com/awards. Also check out Ruby, OKKO, and Spider-Man movie coverage, all that at overlyanimated.com, and we'll have some more end of year stuff coming up here as well.
If you like Voltron, you'll love She-Ra.
Yes, I think so.
Voltron, my god, it's my life.
She-Ra is Voltron, but a lot more female and
with a lot of heart.
Yes, I think that I would say is the main difference, is the heart. And no studio mute for She-Ra, but yeah.
But it's still gorgeous.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, and we also have She-Ra coverage as well. So all that at overlyanimated.com. Thanks so much, guys, for listening to our Voltron podcast. We will see you next time. Bye.
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 Beep-bo-bee.
Oh my god.
No, they're not. Try again. I'm not ending with that.
No, I refuse.
No,
oh my
literally.
god, you suck so bad.
Beep-bo-bee.
Oh god.